Good afternoon. Again, my name is Rob Worley. I'm a business analyst in the Office of Security Operations at Ginnie Mae. The team would like to welcome you to this training for single-family liquidation event reporting in RFS. Bailey will be assisting us today on the technical side of Zoom. If you have any questions, please direct message her. Please feel free to log your questions in the Q&A box as we are walking through the training. Questions will be taken at the end of the session or at an appropriate moment. We ask that you please do not post any questions to the chat, as the team does not monitor it during the presentation. And chat content is not accessible following the call should follow-up be necessary. Bailey will be posting a link to the presentation deck in the chat. Today's training will be presented by Christy Christensen, and I will now turn it over to her.
Thank you so much, Rob, and welcome to Liquidation Event Reporting Training. Here is today's agenda. We will dive right into LER. On December 11th, 2025, Ginnie Mae published APM 25-07, implementing single-family daily liquidation events. Appendix 6-24 is the file layout for the LER file, along with available exception messages. Please note that the LER file layout requires 15 fields of the existing loan record. The entire L record may be submitted. However, only the 15 fields of the L record will load into the reporting and feedback system, known as RFS, in the new Whole Accounting Liquidation Event Reporting module. LER is only to be reported when a loan is removed from the pool. LER is a new daily reporting stream. Let me stress, there is no change to RFS monthly reporting. All liquidations must be reported on the monthly RFS investor reporting file per Appendix 619. Again, let me repeat, there is no change to monthly RFS reporting. When a LER occurs, the deadline for reporting the LER is 5 a.m. Eastern Time the following business day. Corrections to LERs may be submitted through the end of the issuer's cutoff. LER reporting period begins the first business day after the issuer's cutoff. If there is no liquidations on a given day, then Ginnie Mae is not expecting any LERs to be reported by the issuer. Basically, only report LERs when a liquidation happens in your servicing system. Next is the overview of the new LER module. Let's discuss access first. The functional roles in MGM is the same roles as the investor reporting team. If need be, your internal org admin can grant users access. If you log in to MGM today, the Pool Accounting Liquidation Event Reporting module is active in MGM. Click on Tools, then click on PA/LER, which is highlighted in the red box. This is the LER home screen. There are gray tabs for LER loan activity, LER exceptions summary, LER download, and user guide. There is a downloadable user guide in each module of RFS. We will review these tabs over the next few slides. When you click on the LER Loan Activity tab, the LER Loan Activity screen displays. On slide 14, we will discuss how to report LER loan activity. Here is a sample of the LER exceptions summary screen. This is where you would find any outstanding LER exceptions for the LER reporting period. The LER download screen has three different options. The FA list is the functional acknowledgement list, which will show all of the files that have been uploaded. In the LER download tab, click the Download LER Exceptions in the dark blue bar. This displays the LER download exception screen. Details of this process will be on slide 24 and 25. In the LER download tab, click Download LER Activity in the dark blue bar. This displays the Download Liquidation screen. Details of this process will be on slide 26 and 27. Let's move on to how to use the screens that we have reviewed. To manually report LER loan activity, after logging into MGM, clicking Tools, and selecting the PA-LER module, click on the LER Loan Activity tab in the red box. These steps in screen print are on slide 6. Enter the Ginnie Mae unique loan ID, highlighted with the green box in the middle of the screen. The current reporting period will be populated in the report period box automatically. Only information for the current reporting period may be updated in RFS. An example of the LER report period. Today is January 28th, 2026. So the LER report period is January 2026. Please note this is different than the PASF module. Investor reporting completed on the PASF module, the first part of January calendar month, is for December 2025 report period. LER is for the current month, where investor reporting is for the prior month. Give me a thumbs up if this makes sense. Excellent. I am seeing lots and lots of thumbs. Wonderful. Thank you so much. This slide displays the LER loan activity screen after entering the Ginnie Mae unique loan ID and clicking the Go button. The information above the gray line populates as view-only information. The fields in the red boxes are pre-populated and may be edited if needed. The 7 fields in the green boxes should be entered from your HUD 11710E liquidation schedule. Once all of the information is entered on this screen, click the Save LER button, which is highlighted with the blue box. For a quick review of the 11710E form, we have created this cross-reference with all 7 fields with red numbers corresponding to the new LER loan activity screen. Give me a heart if you are familiar with your internal 11710E liquidation schedule. Wonderful. Look at all those hearts. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. Once the Save LER button is clicked, after entering all of the LER information, the LER loan activity screen will look like this. Please direct your eyes to the blue box at the bottom of the screen. After clicking the Save button, a green message stating LER record saved and the Delete LER button appears. Highlighted in yellow, the actual loan UPB field will populate a plus sign at the beginning of this field. Lastly, in the purple boxes, the last update date and last update by fields populate. The next section is LER exceptions and downloads. Once in the PA LER module, click the LER Exceptions Summary tab. Here's a sample of the LER Exceptions Summary screen. This is where you would find any outstanding LER exceptions for the LER reporting period. In Appendix 6-24, LER can generate E and W level exceptions. E exceptions are errors and must be corrected by the issuer. W exceptions are warnings. Issuers must review the warning exceptions and make changes if necessary. Next is the LER Download tab. First on the LER Download tab is the LER Functional Acknowledgement list. This is where all of the LER files that have been uploaded will display. Notice the Accepted, Rejected column at the end. If a file rejects, there will be an R listed in this column. Please click on the file name link on the far left to open for the file reject reason. If there is an A listed in this column, then the file accepted and loaded into RFS. For LER exceptions, click the Download LER Exceptions in the red box. Select File Type to be downloaded by choosing one of the radio buttons. Then click the Download button in the green box. Just like subservicers are used to using the Download Subserviced Issuers checkbox in PAEF, the same functionality is available in LER. Subservicers may check the Download Subserviced Issuers box on the left side of this page to download all active LER exceptions for all of the issuers you subservice for as a CSV file. After clicking the Download button, the instruction page will display. Follow the instructions by right-clicking on the Download Exceptions CSV file in the green box. If you select Open and New Window option, the CSV file opens and will display all of your outstanding LER exceptions. This file may be saved as a CSV or Excel. At the very bottom of the screen, there is a sample of the LER exception download. Row 1 has the column headings. The last download option in the PA LER module is the Download LER activity. Once the Download LER activity in the red box is clicked, the Download Liquidation page displays. To download the current LER report period activity, select the All Issuers Liquidations for the Report Period selected above radio button. Then click the Download button in the green box. The second radio button may be clicked to select a date range for up to a 24-month period, being highlighted in yellow. Once the start date and end date are selected from the drop-down boxes, then click the Download button. After clicking the Download button, the instruction page will display. Follow the instructions by right-clicking on the Download CSV file in the green box. If you select the Open in New Window option, the CSV file opens and will display all of the liquidation events that have been reported in the PA LER for either the current LER report period or for the dates of the range selected on the prior screen. This file may be saved as CSV or Excel. At the very bottom of the slide, a sample of the Download LER activity file is displayed. Row 1 has the column headings. Querying LER exceptions is next. After downloading the outstanding LER exceptions, navigate to the LER Loan Activity tab. Enter the Ginnie Mae Unique Loan ID and click the Go button in the green boxes to display the loan. The exceptions are displayed at the top of the screen in yellow. This particular loan has a warning LER 212, which is liquidated principal remitted should be within $1 of calculated liquidated principal remitted, and a warning LER 163 exception, which is the liquidation interest due should be within $1 of the calculated liquidated interest due. These two fields are related, the two fields related to these exceptions are highlighted in yellow in the bottom right corner of the screen. The liquidation interest number reported is $1,681.40, and the liquidation principal number reported is $606.18. Both of these reported numbers are listed in the field value column at the top of the screen. Once the correct liquidation interest of $1,020.20 and the correct liquidation principal of $911.17 are updated in the bottom right corner of the screen in yellow, the liquidation balance in pink is automatically updated. Then click the Save LER button in the green box. In the purple box, the message LER record saved appears. And note at the top of the screen, the exception messages are no longer displayed. Give me a thumbs up if clearing these exceptions makes sense. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your participation. Love all the thumbs. Deleting a LER loan activity is next on the agenda. Occasionally, liquidations are reversed in the servicing system. To remove a LER loan activity, issuers must log in to MGM, navigate to the PA LER module, click on the LER Loan Activity tab, enter the Ginnie Mae Unique Loan ID, and click the Go button to display the LER Loan Activity screen. Then click the Delete LER button at the bottom of the screen to remove the LER Loan Activity from MGM. A pop-up box will display asking, "Are you sure you want to delete this LER record?" The OK button must be clicked. In green, the LER record deleted message displays at the bottom of the screen. This is the only way to remove a LER from MGM. LERs cannot be removed via a LER upload file. Give me a thumbs up if issuers must delete LER by going into the PA LER module and bringing up the LER Loan Activity tab and clicking the delete button. Wonderful. I see lots and lots of thumbs. Thank you so very much. Lastly, let's review where to upload a LER file in MGM. Log into MGM, select Tools, select File Upload from the Application section. Then select Liquidation Event Reporting Files Single Family from the drop-down list. Click Choose Files and navigate on your computer to select the LER file you are uploading. Finally, click the Upload button. In MGM, daily LER activity may be manually reported via the PA LER module, by MGM file upload, or by SFTP. The deadline for reporting LERs is no later than 5 a.m. Eastern Time the following business day after the liquidation event happens. There are error and warning exceptions that could generate. These exceptions should be reviewed daily. The only way to remove a LER loan activity is to log into MGM, navigate to the PA LER module, click on the LER Loan Activity tab, enter the Ginnie Mae Unique Loan ID, and click the Go button to display the LER Loan Activity screen. Then click the Delete LER button at the bottom of the screen to remove the LER loan activity from MGM. And another reminder, there is no change to the monthly RFS reporting. In MGM, PA LER module will be available on the second business day of February calendar month for February LERs. A few resources are Appendix 6-24, APM 25-07. Quick reference cards will be posted on ginniemay.gov. Also, the webinar slides will be posted on ginniemay.gov under the training presentations. Before I turn it over to the host, are there any comments from any of the other panelists?
Christy, it's Mike. There, we have a few hands raised.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Okay, I will now turn it over to the host.
So I understand we have a few hands up. Can we
Uh, Actually,
take?
Rob, we normally do the survey, and then the next slide
Okay.
is the question and answers.
All right. Um, Next, we have a survey. If you please take the time to provide your responses so that we can get your information directly from you. Now moving on to Q&A. Before we get to answering any questions you may have, uh, please read the following so that we can get your questions. Also, please use the Q&A so that we can review any of those for also being able to answer things. Okay. Brooks, Bailey, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a couple hands raised. So I'm going to take a few people off mute. Josh Wickman, you have been placed off mute and should be able to ask your question whenever you're ready. Josh, can you hear us? It sounds like he might be having some technical difficulties. So feel free to message us in the chat and we can call on you in a little bit, or feel free to drop your question in the Q&A box. The next hand we have raised is from Cassandra Cassidy. And Cassandra, you have been placed off mute and should be able to ask your question whenever you're ready. Oh, okay. It looks like she lowered her hand. We do have one more hand raised from Joseph Giroux. And Joseph, you've been placed off mute and can ask your question whenever you're ready. Okay. Joseph, can you hear us? Okay, maybe we can move on to the Q&A box for a little bit. I think a couple hands might have been raised on accident at the beginning of the call, possibly.
Okay, from an anonymous attendee, who do we contact to set up an ongoing SFTP upload connection? It's askginniemay.gov is who you'll need to send a request to, and they will be able to get it to the right organization to help get set up for it for that FTP upload connection.
And Rob, it's actually Ask Ginnie Mae at HUD.gov.
Sorry.
The email address is at the very bottom of this Q&A slide. Okay, what's our next question?
For clearing exceptions, is there a daily cutoff like 7 p.m.?
Let me go back to the exceptions. Okay, so here for the exceptions, the E-level exceptions, it states correct the data as applicable to the RFS exception and resubmit the LER record no later than the end of the reporting period in which the loan was liquidated. And then for the W exceptions, it is you would review them and make changes if necessary. So there is not a daily 7 p.m. Eastern Time deadline for these exceptions.
The next question, and it's a question by multiple people, is when will the daily LER reporting be required? You can start submitting as soon as February 3rd after you've successfully completed testing for file uploads. It can be done by the issuer, the service bureau, or other provider for reporting to Ginnie Mae. If you are using a service provider or bureau, once they've completed testing, you're good to go. The next question is the go live for this is February 3rd. All LER must be reported daily by 5 a.m. Eastern Time as of February 3rd. That is correct.
Rob, wouldn't that only be correct if they have passed testing?
Yeah, if they've passed testing, yes. The next question from an anonymous attendee. The testing period ends on February 26th. When will it be live? We are extending the testing period through February 26th. However, a number of service bureaus as well as issuers have already completed testing. We're at the last stages due to some unforeseen circumstances, but we did open that window to complete by February 26th. It will go live and be able to, as mentioned in the previous question, starting February 3rd after you've successfully completed testing. The next question is from another anonymous attendee. What do we do if we're not ready for 2.3 to submit? If you are not ready to submit, but you've completed testing, please contact your AE. If you are in the process of testing, please complete testing, and then as soon as possible, start delivering LERs, excuse me. Amanda Williams has asked the next question. What is the timeline for clearing LER exceptions? I believe that was also answered earlier, that the exceptions need to be handled at the same time frame, 5 a.m. Eastern Time on the following business day.
Actually, Rob, the E levels and the warnings, they have until they're cut off to clear those.
Anonymous attendee asked the question, have all service providers confirmed they will be ready for a 2.3 go live? Would one of the panelists like to answer this question?
Sure, Rob, it's Mike. So we've been testing with ICE and Sagent since November, and they've successfully passed the tests. They tell us they are working with their customers to coordinate the reporting, the implementation, and their systems are have passed the test, so they're ready to report. They're just working with their customers. Other ones, please check with your service provider. They'll have the most up-to-date information.
Right, and I do suggest if you use ICE or Sagent to go ahead and check with them directly also.
We had another question from an anonymous attendee. What is the time frame to clear the LER exceptions? To reiterate what Christy said, they have till their cutoff date to clear the exception. Matthew Perez asks, will there be additional beta testing in February? The testing window is open through the 26th. If you feel that an additional testing is needed, please reach out and we will work with you to be able to do that testing. Next question is, currently we check for exceptions on B day 1, business day 1. So now we will need to check for exceptions daily.
Correct. And remember that your monthly exceptions will be in PAEF, but your daily LER exceptions will be in PA-LER.
Next question is, file naming convention for the file uploads. Can the sequence number be the day, date the file is sent?
Absolutely. The main thing with the sequence number is, like, let's say today you uploaded a file with a sequence number of 15, and if you upload one tomorrow, the sequence number does not need to be 15. It does not need to be a number you've already used. So if you would like to use a date, that's fine.
Our service bureau indicates this goes into production in March. Does that mean we need to report manually any liquidations in February? Please reach out to us and let us know which service bureau you're working with. We have not advertised March at this point, but there may be some extenuating circumstances. Starting in February, you can submit either manually through the site, or you can submit a file once you've completed testing or your service bureau has completed testing.
And it's not only completed testing, it is past testing.
The next question is, this may sound like an obvious question. This new process applies only to liquidations, correct?
Correct.
Next question, corrections can be made manually or only by uploading another file?
Either one. Deleting must be manual if you are deleting a LER.
Will LIQ or Loan 103 exceptions during monthly reporting impact LER exceptions or vice versa?
No. Because there is no change whatsoever to RFS reporting.
What happens if you cannot make the 5 a.m. deadline?
Nana, would you like to take that one? Or Chastity?
Sure, Chastity or myself. You need to reach out to your AEs if you cannot comply with this timing. Chastity?
Yes, contact your AEs if you cannot reach any of the meet any of the requirements defined by this presentation and the LER guidelines, and work with your AE to come to a solution.
Next question. Is the expectation that Ginnie is expecting reporting of daily PIFs by March 2nd. Understanding functionality goes live on February 3rd.
Rob, I'm not really sure what the question is there.
Anyone on the panel be able to answer that question? To clarify, I don't think that there is a deadline in March for any of this reporting. Starting February 3rd, you can begin providing daily LER files as they occur.
If you have passed testing.
If you pass testing.
So if issuers are going to be testing in February calendar month, then obviously you can't start reporting on February 3rd.
Yeah.
So if you don't pass testing until February calendar month, then we would expect your testing to start in March. I mean, I'm sorry, not your testing, your production. Reporting to PA LER in March.
The next question is, can the corrections be uploaded through SFTP?
Absolutely. If you are doing a correction file, make sure your sequence number is different than what you have already sent in your previous file. And they do not have to be consecutive.
Next question, what happens if the exception is not cleared by the time of cutoff?
Then you will not be able to clear it. It will remain for that month.
The next question, is there a time frame for deleting a liquidation? For example, loan liquidated on 2/5, borrower rescinds the PO on 2/10.
As soon as you are aware of it, it should be deleted.
And as Christy mentioned, it will need to be deleted manually. It can't be done through file upload.
Correct.
Veronica asks, if there is a liquidation on BD1, does that also have to be cleared by BD1? Is that an exception to the rule of the 5 a.m. corrections the next day?
Repeat that for me, Rob.
If there is a liquidation on business day 1, does that also have to be cleared on business day 1? Or is that an exception to the rule of 5 a.m. corrections the next day?
There is no exception to the rule of the 5 a.m. corrections the next day.
Is there a required date by when the LER reporting must go live? We understand we can start submitting February 3rd. As we've stated, the start for transmitting is February 3rd, and that we expect you to start transmitting as soon as you've successfully completed testing.
You're not answering the question.
Sorry. Sorry, did someone say something? It broke up for me. Okay. Moving on from David, is there any impact to cutoff files, more specifically data related to liquidations?
No, There is no change whatsoever to monthly RFS reporting.
Brenda asks, when is the last day to submit daily, or will we be submitting monthly files and LER same day?
If you have liquidations, yes, you totally could be submitting those on the same day. It is two separate reporting streams.
If uploading correction files same day, do we upload entire file, or does it overwrite appends previously reporting or only submit corrections?
It is just like RFS. The last file in is the data that is kept in the PA LER module. So you're welcome to submit the same file with corrections, or if you want to just send a separate file with just the corrections, that's fine too.
Okay. I understand that we have some hands raised.
That is correct. We have a hand raised from Karen Schneider. Karen, you've been placed off mute and should be able to raise your question.
Yes, so we utilize Fiserv DNA, and they have told us they met with Ginnie Mae and that Ginnie Mae was targeting a May 2026 implementation date. So they are not ready to go. I had signed up for testing just because I thought we had to in February. But Fiserv is not ready. So do we wait for them to successfully complete testing before we have to start reporting?
You can choose to test on your own until they're ready to actually complete their implementation. So you can do that, but you can also manually go into the system and start submitting as of February 3rd.
So, I mean, I guess I guess that seems to be the underlying, confusion here is that, yes, I can test a file and get it to pass, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to have the data available to me or the ability to get it to you by 5 a.m.
Chastity or Nana, would you like to answer that question?
So you're not going to be able to get the data by 5 a.m. is what I'm hearing you say.
We're Eastern Standard Time. So,
Right.
I mean, it's not, correct until Fiserv has something in place. I don't have the ability to get that file produced and to you by that 5 a.m.
Okay, Karen, I would suggest that you contact your account executive and explain
But
this to you.
okay,
Go ahead.
and
Go
I
ahead.
will. It just seems very and I think that's why I feel that's why you keep getting the question of when is this required, because it seems to be that we're getting different things of like, okay, once you pass testing, then you have to do it, but it's required as of February 2nd. And, then our other areas are, like our Fiserv is being told from what we're being told, they're giving a whole separate date. So I guess that's why it just seems like the implementation of this seems very not clear and confusing.
Okay, well, we'll take your feedback. We understand. And I will drop my email address into the chat. And Karen, you and I can work on this together. Okay?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right.
Bailey, do we have other questions?
Yes, we do. We have a hand raised from Nathan Macon. Nathan, you've been placed off mute and should be able to ask your question whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you for the training, first off. And just wanted to confirm that the LER exceptions are not going to impact the RFS exception scorecard metric.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Nana, did you have anything to add on IOPP?
Yes, actually, LER exceptions will not be part of the scoring at this time. On IOPP.
Thank you, Nana.
Thank you for your question, Nathan. We have another hand raised from Deborah Weaver. Deborah, you've been placed off mute and should be able to ask your question whenever you're ready. Okay, she may be having some audio issues. We do have another hand raised from Mario Fagan. Mario, you've been placed off mute and can ask your question whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. I did a side note in the chat asking if Sagent has been testing, and it's my understanding that they've been working with you since December. If those testings went positive and have passed, I'm not sure where that is at for sure, but if they have passed, does that mean that any of their customers would have passed already, or do you need a distinct file from our issuer to make that happen?
So,
Hey, Mario.
yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Mario, this is Christy.
Yeah.
No, so Sagent is testing on behalf of all of their issuers. So, but you do need to check with them to see if they have passed and when they will start reporting on your behalf.
Okay, perfect. That's kind of where I'm at, and I wanted to just to confirm. Thank you. I'll follow up with Sagent.
Okay, thanks, Mario.
Thanks.
We have no more hands raised, so Rob, I will pass it back over to you.
We only have a few minutes left. If you have any further questions, please contact the customer service desk at askginniemay@hud.gov. As a reminder, we ask that you please submit your survey responses so that we can take your feedback into account for future training events. We would like to thank you for your time. As a reminder, the presentation for today's webinar is available on ginniemay.gov, and the link has been posted in the chat. If you are having issues with the link, we encourage you to go to ginniemay.gov, then issuers, then issuer training, then tools and resources, and then you will see the file there. We can also put that information in the chat.
So, Rob, do we have any other questions in the Q&A?
Yes. How would we handle a loan that pays off prior to the settlement date? By Amanda Williams.
Mike, do we have any update on those? And so I'm assuming settlement date, they mean before the actual loan is securitized in the pool.
I'm sorry, Christy. I'm looking for the question. What was it again? On the.
It's for what happens for a loan that pays off before the settlement date. So like if it pays off the same month that the pool is issued.
You should report it based on the requirements of 5 a.m. by 5 a.m. the next business day. There's a couple questions on removing, deleting liquidations that were reported. Maybe there were problems or whatever. You can delete liquidations as long as it's within the reporting month.
hand raised, and I don't know if it's in response to that from Nathan Macon. Nathan, I'm going to place you off mute if you'd like.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. That last question in regards to the settlement date and a payoff that occurs prior to, uh, just wanted a little more clarification. When you say 5 a.m., are you meaning 5 a.m. the day after the settlement?
Sorry, Nathan, could you restate your question?
Right. So the answer to the question of whether or not or how to treat rather a payoff that occurs prior to the settlement date, the answer was 5 a.m. If I heard that correctly.
So, Nathan, if you have you originated a security, right, and that loan is supposed to be in there, it's one of the loans, and then for whatever reason, uh, it needs to be liquidated. That liquidation reporting must meet the requirements of 5 a.m. by 5 a.m. the next business day.
Right. So that's where my question for the clarification comes in is when you're saying 5 a.m. the next business day, if it hasn't settled and moved into a Ginnie Mae pool yet, then my assumption is that you're saying 5 a.m. the day after the settlement. And I'm just
Well,
wondering if that assumption is
yeah,
correct.
if it has not been put into a Ginnie Mae pool, you don't report it. It's only
Right.
once the pool is originated, and then for whatever reason, you have a loan that liquidates.
Right. So, are we saying then that the liquidation reporting would either occur after the day of the settlement or in the new month after the cutoff happens, or not at all? Just which one of those three?
So, are you referring to the settlement date of a loan? Maybe that's where I'm getting confused.
Yeah, if I'm understanding what the question was, the question was asked whether, that loan that's preparing to settle, if it pays off before the settlement actually occurs, how are you supposed to report the liquidation?
Yeah. If
Nathan, I
you
think we're
if
going to have to take this offline because it seems to be a more involved question. So, if you would please, and anyone who has additional questions, contact Ask Ginnie Mae at HUD.gov and submit your questions. We will also look at all of the questions that have not been answered and try to get those included into our FAQs. I also want, as I mentioned before, the deck for this presentation is on the Ginnie Mae website, and the link has been posted. The video recording of this session should be posted when it is available, which should be about a week or so. If attendees have subscribed to training announcements, you will receive notifications for future training events. And I just want to thank you all for your participation today. There were a lot of great questions. Hopefully we'll be able to get to you all the answers that you need so that you can start supporting this new reporting requirement. Thank you. Have a great day.